Canal de English and the program The Forum. Today our guest is Mr. Paschal Kwambenzi. He is the director of the British Isles School here in Douala. Well, the Anglophone subsystem of education seems to be under assault from the Francophonized ambition of the government of this country, but there is a pure resistance, as you could have discovered, when CATU decided to call a strike, which was eventually called off because of the intervention of the Minister of Higher Education, the Minister of Higher Education, whose name I have forgotten by the time I want to start this program. But in spite of the fact that the educational system, the Anglophone system of education in this country is under assault, it is still a system that still attracts a lot of people within Cameroon, especially the Francophones, who wants to learn English. But the problem remains, why on earth our country, being a bilingual country in theory, seems to have this desire of trying to Francophonize the Anglophone subsystem. But that's not only what we're going to talk about. We shall also be talking about a school called the British Isles, which is located here in Douala. Please do not go away. We shall be right back after this. Once again, a very warm welcome here. As I announced at the introduction of this program, our guest today is Mr. Paschal Kwambenzi. He is the director of the British Isles School here in Douala. Before that, Mr. Kwambenzi, a very warm welcome here on Canal de English.
Thank you very much, Mr. Elie.
How are you doing?
Quite good.
Good. Now, as I was saying, the Cameroon officially is a bilingual country with two official languages, English and French. But could you please explain to our viewers and to myself why this country is almost always presented as a French-speaking country?
Thank you very much once more, Mr. Elie Smith. I want to say I'm very happy to be here, first of all, today for this great program, which is aimed at enlightening the public, and it's really on the issue of today. It's true we are in Cameroon, which is a bilingual country, with two official languages in English and French. I believe that we are really threatened. This is just because, to my point of view, I think that it's because we have just two regions in Cameroon, which are English regions, and the rest are Francophone regions. So they really overshadow the English regions in Cameroon. And as well, you see, education today in Cameroon is the one that everybody likes to follow the English system, which means the Francophones today rush behind the Anglophone system of education, and you gradually get into it. It is true we have a lot of things that equally threaten the way we have to preserve the English culture in Cameroon. And I think that this point is a point of calling to the powers that be, that is from the President of the Republic, who has to give the others to the ministers of secondary, basic, and higher educations, and the better management of these systems of education in Cameroon.
But don't you think that, well, we have two regions, that is the Northwest and Southwest regions, that are English speaking? Do you think that that is enough reason why the Francophone system is trampling and destroying the Anglophone system of education and everything Anglophone in this country? Is it simply because it is 2 against 8?
No, I can't accept that. It's not only because it's 2 against 8. I think that it's a reality. It's nature. That's how it happened, and we are there. We have to accept it.
We have to accept what? Accept
the
that
situation that we have 2. But out of 10, we are 2.
2 out of 10, yes.
Of 10, yeah?
Yes.
And like I was saying, there's one place, or one authority, and this authority is the president alone. And I know that he appoints his ministers. He gives in orders. He tells them what to do. And that's exactly just what he wants.
In other words, you want to mean that the president of this country, who is Paul Biya, is bent at destroying everything Anglophone in this country, including the Anglophone system of education?
He has to pay a closer look at what is happening, because I believe he's not really saying what is happening. He has at the top, it's true. And there are people there working for him who are normally supposed to challenge him the feedbacks of what is happening. Therefore, these ministers I will talk of basic education, secondary education, higher education, who are there to handle the education system of this country. They are the ones to see where to send who. I will take an example. We're in Cameroon, we're in Douala. This is a little region, and we are found in a French environment. It is true, Cameroon is a bilingual country. We have found Douala. There are many schools that are English and French in this same Douala. There are bilingual schools and there are English schools all in Douala. We're trying to become bilingual citizens. It's true, Cameroon is a bilingual country, but we are not bilingual. Let's accept that, right? It's a reality. Now, you questioned about the Francophones threatening the Anglophones. I want to say in this system, just because of maybe it's because of the majority of Francophones over Anglophones in Cameroon. But they're not supposed to do so, because we are all for a common good, the good which is education. And therefore, if you are out for it, you have to follow what is necessary to lead to this education that every Cameroonian, we're not having Cameroonians. By the way, we have Cameroonians. We have so many citizens of other countries in this country, and they are bound to study here, whether in English or in French.
Okay, but you have not answered my question. You said somewhere that we have to accept it, which means that you are already a resigned group of people who will accept that your language, which is the English language, your culture, every heritage that you have, which is your identity, should be destroyed, trampled upon by the dominant culture, which is Francophone. Is that what I understand what you're saying?
No, it's the opposite. I said we have to accept that we are two regions.
Nobody refuses that.
That is
Nobody's refusing. It's a reality.
We have to accept the reality. But we have to preserve our culture.
And how do you do that?
Preserving our culture means handling what we are supposed to handle as Anglophones. I want to take an example. Today, we have, let me talk about training schools, for example. Let's talk of even the basic education, for example. We have public training colleges and the private colleges. They train teachers to come out. And when they come out, whether the teacher was trained in English or in French, I know that you trained in English are supposed to be sent to the English system of education. That is to better handle that culture. But today, it's the opposite. It's really the opposite. Because today you find teachers who are trained by the government, this is send them, and a French teacher trained by the government is sent to teach an Anglophone.
But is it correct?
No.
It's not correct.
It's not correct.
But
it's not correct,
which means that the government of Cameroon doesn't care about the English culture. The government of Cameroon wants to destroy the English culture of this country. And you are an Anglophone.
Yeah.
And what are you doing to, you say you have to preserve the culture.
Yeah.
What are you doing as an Anglophone Cameroonian to say, stop, we have to preserve our culture, our identity, and above all else, our educational system? What do you do as a group to defend that?
Doing something as a group to defend our Anglophone culture is a call for everyone. Because the culture is something very precious that must be well reserved for the growth of the young generation. That must be well preserved for the growth of this country, Cameroon.
Oh, that's what you guys are doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing in reality?
In reality,
yes, because saying it is one thing, yes.
In reality, I want to believe that this one is really a call for conscience, each person's conscience. And if, to better move with what we're thinking, if the minister, who is the father of education, stands to say, please, let's give what belongs to X, and give what to Y, and we all accept and follow, we shall succeed. But it's a contrary in Cameroon today. And I want to believe that it's sometimes just when we strike that things are well handled.
Which means that the reaction of the Cameroon Association of Teachers, I think CATU,
yeah.
Their reaction was a good one.
I believe it was a good one. And luckily the ministers found it was so wise to observe that and call it off. And I believe that if he really called it off, he should see into it that everything is well handled. But
there is something you just said. You mean to say when they train teachers in this country, they will just take any teacher, even if he's a French-speaking teacher, because that's what always happens most often.
Yeah.
The reverse doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They will take a Francophone teacher or Francophone teachers to go and teach Anglophone students. Is it a correct thing?
Yeah.
Is it correct?
Wrong. It's very wrong. It's very wrong.
Now, have you been a victim to that, or have you had any experiences of that?
I've had a lot of experiences in that. That happened to me in Bamenda, even in Douala. I remember I schooled in Bamenda, went to GTHS Bamenda. I was taught by a Francophone. And you see the English the Francophone teacher was speaking was not the one that is refined for an English person like me to listen to.
So, if I understand well, the government of Cameroon hates the English culture and wants to destroy the English culture.
If I say they already hate and want to destroy, I want to say they are ignorant.
How can they be ignorant? This is 50 years of unification. How do you think that they'll be ignorant of the bad, the harm that they are doing to a system? How come there's no ignorance in it?
The ignorance in it is that they don't want to pay attention to what is really happening outside. Let me tell you, if you are a father, you have children, you know that you are supposed to cater for those children. The children go out and come back. You don't find out what happened outside, what they brought back. You just say, okay, welcome back. Nothing at all. What are they doing? You need to question what is happening. What are they talking about my children outside? The case of this country is the same. If you're standing here as the Minister of Education and something is happening in the country, you can put a stop or a correction positively for the growth of the citizens of the country.
Which means that the Minister of Higher Education, the Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, they are irresponsible. They don't care about the faith of Anglophone children in this country.
I would say yes to that.
You say yes to that. Now, you are a director of a school, which is called British Eyes.
International School.
And you, if I see well, I've never gone there. When you say British Isles, everybody feels too attracted that it should be a kind of school that promotes Anglo-Saxon education. Now, what makes your school, you think, different from other schools in the country?
The British Isles International School is a purely Anglo-Saxon education school found in Cameroon, and precisely in Douala, Makepe, Douala. And we are there to educate national and international citizens for a common good. What makes our school different from other schools is that we are preserving the English culture as deserves in Cameroon. It is true when you get to British International School, this school is a school with two curriculums, the British and the national curriculum, is Cameroon curriculum. What we do is we blend the systems of education and work with them, giving 30% to British curriculum and 70% national curriculum, that is Cameroon curriculum. And like you said...
What is the need of having to blend a system of education, the British educational system and the Cameroon system?
Because the Cameroon system is quite rich as well. It's very rich, and we are in Cameroon. We first live under the banners of the Minister of Basic Education and Secondary Education in Cameroon. So we give that attention first to them, and then we let them to be open everywhere. And
in your school, do you employ good teachers? It's a simple, cheap equation.
Good teachers, any teacher recruited in British High School is trained in British Eyes. Whether you are good or you're bad, we are trained to behave like British. So
you have a code, a standard of a British teacher?
Yeah, we do have a code of a standard.
In your school?
Exactly.
And do you use Francophone teacher to teach English to Anglophone children?
No, we don't.
You don't?
We don't. We use, we have a teacher who teaches French to Anglophones, because French is subject, just subject to Anglophones. And we equally have Anglophone teachers who teach French to our students, Anglophones, because they did bilingual series of education in university.
Okay, and your school, when was it created?
On the 5th of January 2007, we obtained our authorization.
And as far as results are concerned, how are you been faring on national exams?
We've always scored 100% in our examinations, always. Let me ask a question. What really made our school different from other schools? Let me just be clear there. The British International School is a school that respects, first of all, education, and that wants every individual passing through it to obtain something. That is what we have. And we don't have failure in our vocabulary. We have a very few number of students per class. The lowest, 5 children. The teacher has good time to know each child's problem.
5.
Yes.
Are you having 5 children or 5 pupils or students in classes? Because, let me finish.
Yeah.
Because the school fees is very expensive, or is it because you have a kind of standards, some requirements, some prerequisites that you need from students in order to admit them?
No, not what we need from students in order to admit them. No. I will talk of, we in Cameroon, we in Douala. Education today in Cameroon, let me talk of private education, by the way, because private education today in Cameroon, most people think that it's just hard to make money.
Okay? And what do you think?
And I don't really think that I don't really think it's that it has first an objective. It is true to assist the government and to educate Cameroonian citizens, and why not nationals of other countries in the same country, Cameroon. Now, I'm saying that we are not saying that a class should be having 5 children. No, not so. I mean the lowest.
It's 5.
5 in some classes.
Yeah, and why do you have classes?
5? Sometimes we may say parents are afraid when they hear of the British internet, they think the school fee is too expensive and too much for them to pay. That's one thing I want to first accept.
Okay.
That's one thing they think, but it's not that. We accept everybody.
You have everybody.
And we have much of payments of fees.
Now tell me,
give to each parent to.
Yes, in terms of school fees, how much you pay there?
In terms of school fees are quite moderate compared to schools of identical caliber.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And now what would make a parent or some parents to opt to refuse other private institutions in this country or in this city and say, I want to come to British Isles? What do you think can convince a parent? Yes.
Convincing a parent, today you first have to let the parent understand the value of education. Because today, most parents leave home today, go out to the job site to look for money. And even if a child is schooling, very few parents out of many who have time to verify what is doing. What we do, we call the attention of our parents. We put them down. We talk to them on the importance of education and why we have to educate this child for tomorrow.
For tomorrow.
Yeah. Because, like I said, that's the reality. Most parents, you have a parent here who will come back in the evening and will not have time to verify what the child did in school because the parent is tired, but out for money. That's why we're looking for in Douala, for money. But we have to tell these our parents that please, no matter what you do, look for a short time to let the child understand that you're already behind his or her education.
Okay, now the other question I wish to ask, which you have not responded, and I would like you to respond, is about the school fees. You seem to avoid it.
School fees, like I said, is very, very moderate compared to schools of identical caliber, which I know you want to find out.
Yes, because there are many people watching the program. Okay, understandably, you don't want to give the school fee. You say it's moderate. But now, if somebody wanted to, if somebody is from Nigeria, from Sierra Leone, the Gambia, and want to come to Cameroon and is looking where to register or his or her children in school, how can you get? Do you have a website?
Yeah, we do have a website, www.britishhighschool.com.
Now, you said something about the dual curriculum that you are using.
Yeah,
does it mean that if somebody sends his or her daughter there to school, after the graduation, he can easily obtain or attend classes abroad, like in England or in the United Kingdom?
It's very possible because we do offer the London GCE examinations, which lead children to other countries. And as well, as we are an English institution as well, we do train our children to sit for these examinations called the TOEFL, the IELTS, and the TOEIC examinations that will take them to other countries.
Okay, well, and the other thing you have to understand is, as far as the Anglophone education is concerned, what is the future in your opinion?
In my opinion?
Yes.
If we are not careful, we are going to be destroyed. if we are not careful. Thanks to the actions of the
Katu.
And I want to believe that if the minister, that is Jacques Famendongo, Higher Education Minister, if he really sticks to his words and listen to the voice of Katu, and we all, as one people on the way, we shall succeed. But if that was just a statement to cool down the temperature of teachers in Cameroon, it will be disastrous.
It will be disastrous. Well, Mr. Paschal Kwambenzi, it is a pleasure to have accepted our invitation. I would like to remind our televiewers that you are the director of the British Isles International School here in Makepe, Douala. Once again, thank you for having accepted our invitation.
You're welcome, Mr. Elie Smith.
Okay. Well, that was that for today. We hope to have you tomorrow, and please do stay tuned to programs of Canal de English. Tomorrow is another day, God willing.